And I'm Ryan Starks, currently seniors at Northwood High School.
Today we have Dr. Joseph Bostic Jr., assistant principal at Northwood High School and former teacher of the year at Montgomery County. How are you today, Dr. Bostic?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Gladiator Pride, right?
Yes.
All right.
So we're formerly a teacher in Montgomery County. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, so actually my first career is electrical engineering. So this is my second career. I started teaching at Silver Spring International Middle School. Go Jaguars. Are y'all graduates or promoters? Were y'all promoted from Silver Spring International?
No, I went to Loiterman.
Oh, Loiterman.
Yeah, I went to Tacoma Park
Okay.
Middle School.
I think I knew that. But well, anyhow, so I started teaching mathematics, which was a great opportunity because I love numbers. I love math, being an engineer. Also, I was teaching like a tech class, but it was more of a STEAM space, like science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, because I wanted to ensure that students had the opportunity to explore various aspects of education. One thing about my class, a lot of students may chime in if they watch our episode. How many people do you have watching your episode now?
Oh, I got a couple of my friends watching it.
Okay.
They stay updated with the page.
All right. Well, hopefully there are some students from SSI. But basically, my classroom was like a fun learning space, a think tank, an innovative space where students had the opportunities to take risks. So for me, I think it's important that kids have the opportunity to take risks and they know that their voice matters. By the way, you did a great job on your first episode.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
Oh, I would say I was definitely a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But
Definitely know it better this time around.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree. I agree.
Because I think today is a great example of you using your voice and the power of student voice.
Yeah.
One thing your first guest stated is that every voice matters, number one. Number two, you need to be mindful of how you use your voice. You don't want to just be on CNN or media saying all these different things that really may not be the right things to say. But then there's a caveat. She said third, you have the bandwagon effect where, you need to be mindful of if we're going to mute this person or this person should have freedom of speech. So I think that's important. So y'all did a great job on that.
Thank you. So do you think with your time teaching, what have you learned about student voices and kind of how to portray free speech in the school system?
Yeah, so first things first, for any MCPS student, and I'm quite sure it's the same way in most counties, you all get a booklet every year. It's 2 books, the Student Code of Conduct and the Rights and Responsibilities. Have y'all read it?
I haven't.
You haven't read it?
No, I haven't.
It's a good read.
Okay.
Have a glass of water, read it on a Saturday, finish it up on a Sunday, baby. But I bring that up because within those 2 books, it gives you guidance of how you can use your voice. And I think that's important because for me, my vision, my perspective is, I always say it's important what a student sees. So when I come into a building or when I'm doing things in my walk of education, what do I see, right? Number 2, what do I feel? Okay, when I'm in a building or a school building or when I'm at my intern, what do I feel, right? Because that's important. That's a part of your voice. And the third thing is, what do I hear? Okay, because all 3 of those components make up your voice. So for me, I always I think you could do a Google survey. How many times have you received like a Google form saying, hey, fill this out. We want to hear your voice.
Yes.
Right?
I think a couple of times a year. I think we just did one too.
Okay. How does that make you feel?
I don't necessarily enjoy them because I'm always like, oh, is the county really going to look at this? Does my opinion really matter? And one of my friend's moms, she works in the school system, and she's like,
Wow.
we look at these. So please be honest.
That's true. Very true. What do you think?
I think that I definitely it's not an enjoyable thing because question after question after question, but I definitely think that it's important for teachers and just for the county as a whole for like the better of the students' life, and like because we spend most of our time in classrooms and schools, so it's important for our voices to be heard and like what we want and what we like and what we want to change in those schools, because it's our place.
Yeah, it's your building, and what I encourage you to do, both of you, or any student that's listening, it's important that you take charge of the building.
Right.
You lead that space. You feel like you are the leaders of that space. And the reason why I brought up the Google form is because, yes, it's great to fill out that form and hit that submit button. I share my voice. I feel so proud, right? But it's important too, the next piece of that for me as a leader, as a teacher, I want to sit the people down, some of those people in that group, to say, hey, could you tell me more? Because there's a difference between that Google form, which is quantitative data, and qualitative data, which is the actual voice that you're going to share with me, because I can get a deeper perspective or understand what you see, what you feel, and what you hear, right? So that's kind of my perspective on it.
So you touched on a lot about like the things that you do, like you look around the school and you really look at how you feel in schools, and like you wonder how that's projected onto students. How have you implemented that in your recent years working at Northwood High School and things like that?
That's a great question, and it's a very layered question, but great job. So I'm trying to think, how have I implemented that? One space is, of course, I know you very well. We have our student focus groups meetings. So we meet every Friday or bi-weekly. I remember when we first started meeting, and it was like organized chaos. Everybody's talking, laughing. Oh man, yeah, this and that. We should do this. We should do that. And then eventually so that was like our storming phase, I want to say. But then we started to kind of form as a team, as a group. We have different diverse perspectives in that group. Everyone is not there every meeting, but I wanted to make sure that was a diverse space. I think with that group, one of the things that I really have learned is that you have to trust students, because I knew that before, but I saw it with my own eyes, because like I said, I used to have to try to organize and facilitate. Now they call me on the radio and they say, oh, Dr. Bostic, just a heads up, your group is already meeting in the conference room. I was like, oh, that's great. Hey, let that happen. That's organic. So I think that's one way. This year I'm very fortunate and honored to be the senior class administrator. So as a senior class administrator, I'm often like thinking about ways to connect to students. I actually got a surprise for y'all. You're going to see it on, hopefully by next week. It's coming. It's going to be for all of the seniors. But I'm always constantly thinking about and reflecting, how do I make this year great for you, right? Because if this is not a great experience, then what did we do wrong as the leaders of the building? So a theme, I'm corny, so don't laugh at me. But one thing that I came up with over the summer, it was the 4 E's. So it's enrolled. I wanted to make sure students who felt like they wanted to go to college, this is all voice, right?
Right.
Me making a decision that I want to go to a Howard University, Hampton, Tuskegee, North Carolina A&T, shout out to the HBCUs. I'm an HBCU graduate. That's a big statement. I'm deciding that I want to go to college. That's enroll, right? The next E is employed. Is there something wrong with me saying after high school, I'm just going to work a little bit in order to figure things out? No, it's nothing wrong with that. And actually, Governor Westmore, he has said, I agree, I believe in a student doing that. So now they have what they call a gap year program.
Yeah.
Which is powerful, because not only can you take classes, but you're connected to something and you can finish up, making that transition from high school to college. The next piece was enlisted, right? Salute to any person that may be listening that may have been in a Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, right? Because they help protect us, make sure we're safe. But a lot of people are going to decide, I want to serve my country. Right. Funny enough, when I was in high school, growing up, I was in ROTC. Did y'all ever join ROTC?
I never joined, but I used to really want to be in the Army.
Yeah, I loved it. And, they used to give us commands, left phase, right phase. I was all into it because I had people in my family in the military. So I really believe that's another piece of that student voice. So y'all remember these? Enrolled, employment, enlisted. All right. The last E is exploring, right?
Okay.
Because I may decide that I just want to explore life. I want to learn more about myself, learn more about what I'm passionate about. So I'm going to ask you two that question. What's one thing you're passionate about?
You want to answer first?
Yeah, I think that really into my like especially going into college and being finance being my major, I think one of the things that I've been really passionate about is financial literacy and making sure that people everywhere have know how to use money and are literate and know how to use money and go into the real world, especially as kids. And especially now, I'm hearing words you got to get a credit card and
Right.
FAFSA and loans
Right.
and debt and all these big words. And my parents being immigrants, they don't know much about that system. And I think that it's important that my sister didn't get to have that ability to have that financial literacy and have that good foot first. And so I think it's important for me that everybody, every student, even if you're in elementary school or in middle school, it doesn't matter how old, that you start learning how to work with money and use money to be responsible, because nobody wants to be in debt. Nobody wants to be
I never knew that, but I really like that. I think something that I've always been passionate about is helping people. I love to listen and I love to give advice.
Right.
I think that's one of my favorite things. And I used to really want to go into therapy for a long time. And I've slowly kind of drifted away from it and stepped more into the marketing side of things. But I still do want to be able to help people and help people advertise themselves the best way that they can.
Nice. Okay, so I have a follow-up question. See, I'm teaching now. I love teaching. So now that you know your passion, how does your passion connect to speech? Making sure people have a voice. So you go first.
Okay, well, I think for me, marketing, that's what we do here at MCM, and we're able to film different videos and put out graphics that kind of represent what we want to say to the community and ways to help the community. So I think with this media broadcasting, we're giving the community a voice to give their opinions and share their opinions and put it on camera and put it out there for the world to see.
Okay, A+.
Thank you.
I think that when it comes to financial literacy, I think that it's important to shift the conversation to people that don't have access to those classes that we have at Northwood. I think that even Northwood being at the saddest that it is, we have a lot available for us. But I've been to schools in 5th grade. I went to a DC school and I was in HIP DC, and the school there, it was underfunded. We barely had I had a new math teacher every few months, and so our textbooks were we didn't have good textbooks. So I think that when you're thinking about schools like that, I think that I would really love to go to schools like that and go to places like that where they don't have access to teachers or to counselors or to things like that, and really make sure that they're getting an education that is substantive and they're getting the best that they can possibly get to put themselves in the best position for their future.
I'm gonna give you a B. No, just kidding. A+. So great job. All right. And you're teachers too, believe it or not. All right. So I'm always in a mode of how do I share my gift, right? So I talked about the 4 E's, right? Now we know that currently we're at maybe 383 graduates, right? So out of the 383 people,
Right.
they're going to transition in life into one of the 4 areas, right? They all, hopefully, and I hope they one day know this, if they don't know this, they all have a passion, right? They all have a voice. Your passion is going to connect you to your purpose, right? So the more that you know about you, and none of us are perfect. I still make mistakes to this day, but none of us are perfect. But it's important to know that I need to know what my passion is so I can help people, which is going to connect me to my purpose, right? 3 P's: passion, people, purpose. Right? So it's important that, as y'all continue to move through life, that you consider that. Okay?
Yeah, and I think that Northwood has done a really good job at setting students up for that. When it comes to having academies or having MC Square, where students can go and take classes in college, take college courses and try out majors. Like I know I changed my major a few times. I touched
It's
in
okay.
like computer science and like other
Right.
things like that. So like it helps
Right.
me find my passion and things like that. Or like having like programs where I'm able to have the internship program and like try an experience like this and see where I want to be. I think that Northwood has done a really great job at that.
Right, right, absolutely. And you know, that was your first question. Why did I start teaching?
Mm-hmm.
I felt that I'm from the South. I'm from Georgia, deep South Georgia too. Country, mud roads, and I was sharing with you earlier before we started recording that when I was growing up, I didn't have much. Right, I come from a poverty-driven neighborhood, crime-ridden. It was a crime index of 1 with 100 being the safest. Right, so you know, for me, I was blessed and fortunate to be here today to spread my message, because every day and every time and every opportunity that you have, you're getting that chance to not only invest in yourself, but invest in others.
Okay.
So I bring all that up to say that, you know, no matter what you do, always use your voice, because your voice matters and you're worth it, right? And one of your cast members, they probably remember it from my promotion speech, but they selected me to be the promotion speaker. Freedom of speech, voice, right? And I was just like, oh man, I was telling my family back home, I was like, they selected me to be the promotion speaker. I can't believe it. You know, I think it was like maybe it was my first year at SSI. And I was like, wow, that's powerful, right? That you get a chance to kind of speak to not only your promoting class, but the parents and the community of people that you impact. So always find your arena and always continue to plant your seeds, because that's your voice, and one day that produces like a harvest. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say on behalf of both of us, thank you for the amazing advice. And it's been so nice to learn just how important my voice is, and know that I shouldn't take it for granted in the school system. Because know that there are teachers and staff members like you actually listening and wanting to change like the school system. It's just been amazing to see.
Yeah, and you know, it's Black History Month. I would be beside myself if I didn't share this. But just think back in history of different things that happened.
Right.
I think about, like I said, I'm from Georgia. I grew up during a time that things were still happening, things were still moving. When you think about the civil rights movement, back in Montgomery, Alabama, have you ever traveled there?
No, I've never traveled there.
Check it out. Definitely some nice things to see that will encourage you to elevate your voice. But if you think about the Montgomery bus boycott, it lasted for, guess the number, how many days?
We're doing a equal guess.
30 days? Okay, what's
Maybe
your
a
guess?
year?
30 days.
The range?
I'll say like 11.
11. 381 days.
And I actually knew that.
You was close. You was very close. So I used to do stuff like that in my class.
Yeah.
But 381 days. It did not originally start with Rosa Parks. Did you think it started with Rosa Parks?
I didn't. My grandma. She
told you.
was always like, it wasn't Rosa, but you know.
Yep. So it was actually another community member by the name of Claudette Colvin that started that movement. And then Rosa Parks, actually, she was denied access to the bus, right? She was denied access one time. The bus driver, she basically, she did not go to the seat. He asked her to get off. He drove off before she can get back on the bus. Then the second time she was actually on the bus, she described, I was listening to NPR today, and she described how, you know, she was so fed up, she was tired of the treatment. But, so let's say because Claudette's story, her voice, is not really elevated.
Right.
Who do you often hear about?
Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks, right? So that's why I say every voice matter, because now when you hear the narrative about the Montgomery bus boycott, now you hear more Claudette Colvin and Rosa Parks, right? So it's important that you kind of think of history. You compare history to your present time, and what are those things that, you know, are common? What are those things that are different? What are those things we can change? How do we make deposits into the present time that we're in right now? Yeah. What y'all think about that?
Great.
No, that was a little history lesson. I like that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Should've been a history teacher.
Hey, I love history.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dabble
You
in a
know,
little bit of everything.
yep. So,
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you
you
for-
for sharing your voice
yep.
and giving us your time. And we really enjoyed it and we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I
Of
appreciate it.
course, anytime.